senior leadership is going to address that concern also. There are some leaders in Uttar Pradesh, top leaders of BJP itself, who have raised displeasures and they have said that our party did not work well in the state of Uttar Pradesh, and that is also going to be addressed. But what is very much clear here is that it will be CM Yogi only on whose face the BJP is going to lead the campaign for the upcoming state assembly polls, because he is the biggest man BJP has got in its kitty as far as the leadership in the state of Uttar Pradesh is concerned. What we are also told is that there could be some organizational changes in BJP. Few people will be inducted. In fact, there could be cabinet reshuffle also. This is what we are told. What we are also told from our sources is that Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath is going to recommend few names from his side also to be inducted in cabinet. The organization of BJP, even it is looking forward to add few people in cabinet, and there could be a few ministers who will lose their ministries. So there are some sort of developments those are now taking place. The meeting between Chief Minister and Prime Minister is all set to begin in few minutes from now. He has entered inside 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, and after meeting with Prime Minister, he will be meeting National President, BJP's National President JP Nadda. But yes, all the concerns will be addressed. Everything will be put in place, and the main focus, would be the upcoming state assembly polls. Also, the kind of developmental, things those have been done by the BJP in the state of Uttar Pradesh.
Right. Stay with us, Piyush. Let's also bring in Sumi now. Sumi, we do know that Yogi Adityanath. All right. Our senior executive editor, Abhishek Kapoor, is also joining us now. Abhishek, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Abhishek, now what we understand is that even as this meeting, the series of meetings essentially take place of the senior leadership of the BJP, one of the attempts perhaps is going to be to smooth over the friction that the BJP is seeing in its UP unit.
Well, yes. So there are some issues. We have discussed them in openly last 2 days, Nupur. And the issue is about a certain community that is being favored. The issue is about certain aspects of the style of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Now, this is based on proper feedback that the BJP top leadership gets through its internal mechanism. We saw how there was a coordination meeting between RSS and BJP in Lucknow a few days back. Then there were Palis in Delhi. There was a General Secretary's meeting that took place at the residence of Party President JP Nadda, subsequent to which he has effectively briefed both the Prime Minister and Home Minister Amit Shah. And then we have seen how there has been to and fro between Lucknow and Delhi, after which Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath himself has come. He met Home Minister Amit Shah yesterday, and today he's meeting Party President and Prime Minister. Essentially, a couple of issues as a build-up to elections, and the trigger obviously was some setbacks that the BJP suffered in panchayat elections, particularly of concern the centers like Gorakhpur and Varanasi and Allahabad, which happen to be areas of influence of the top leadership. For example, Chief Minister Adityanath himself comes from Gorakhpur, and Varanasi happens to be Prime Minister's constituency. So I think there are issues that the party needs to sort out. There is still some time before the momentum builds up for UP Assembly elections in the early part of next year. And I think the party is, like it happens with BJP, takes every election so seriously. They are just out of a massive Bengal campaign, and they are getting headlong already into Uttar Pradesh, sorting things out. I think some clarity has already emerged from the statements of, for example, General Secretary Organization B.L. Santosh, that there is no question of changing leadership, but then some nip and tuck here and there, possibly some reshuffle in the cabinet, some changes. We saw how bringing in of Jiten Prasada brought in this aspect that the Brahmin community was a little uncomfortable, so assuaging those concerns. So overall, a nip and tuck job in UP before the party heads into the UP Assembly campaign in the early part of next year.
Right, absolutely. Abhishek, of course, the party has already said that Yogi Adityanath will be their chief ministerial candidate as they head into the polls next year. But what are you hearing of organizational changes within the state unit? Because that's something perhaps, that's been talked about quite a bit.
Well, yes. So let me just kind of elaborate. You are right. The party leadership has made it amply clear that there is no question of change of leadership in UP. by far, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath remains a popular leader. He has performed well on many parameters, particularly his handling of the COVID second wave. And generally, if you look at it, he has been tough on the law and order scene. He has traveled widely in the state. He has a very good mechanism of feedback. He takes charge. We have seen how in the backdrop of second wave, he has traveled, crisscrossed the state, and I think covered almost 45 districts in all the regions. But, you know, as I said, there are certain aspects of his style which have made some people within the party, some leaders within the party unhappy. There is this charge that the Thakur community gets undue favors, or that they are favored vis-a-vis other communities. It's not that the Brahmins are not adequately represented. The fact that a deputy chief minister is a Brahmin, that important chief ministers like Shrikant Sharma, Brajesh Pathak, they happen to be from Brahmin community. Within the party organization, there are Brahmin leaders represented. Rita Bahugura Joshi, who had come from the Congress party, is a minister. So it's not that Brahmins are not represented, but still, if a perception has emerged that one particular community is favored, so obviously some message has to go and some communication has to happen. And as I said, some balancing perhaps might be in order. So I think that is the reason why these consultations are happening. Remember also that Prime Minister's sort of man Friday in Prime Minister's office at that time, bureaucrat A.K. Sharma, who had quit IAS and then joined the BJP and is also a member of Legislative Council from Uttar Pradesh, happens to be a person who connects in many ways the Prime Minister's office or Prime Minister directly with what's happening in UP. So it's not that there has been any lack of oversight, but certain things have happened. They have come to fore. There was feedback that certain MLAs, certain ministers were not happy. I think based on that feedback, this to and fro is happening. But as I said, my understanding is, Nupur, that it's just going to have some nip and tuck job and not massive changes, because by and large, the party believes in the leadership of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, and they would be heading into 2022 assembly elections with him at the helm.
Absolutely. Abhishek, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Let's also quickly go across to Piyush. Now, Piyush, earlier, you were talking about the fact that there could perhaps be a cabinet expansion in Uttar Pradesh before Uttar Pradesh goes to polls. Now, what are you hearing on that? Because that perhaps will also, assuage, certain rebellious sentiments.
Well, absolutely, Nupur. Also, we have seen as to how when Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath was in national capital, there were a series of meetings took place at UP Southern, where we saw MPs like VK Singh, Satyapal Singh reaching out to Yogi Adityanath, and also the newly inducted top Congress leader, former Congress leader and now BJP leader Jiten Prasada. Even he had held a meeting with Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. So there are chances that there could be a few people who inducted in cabinet. Like our senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor was also pointing out, the name of A.K. Sharma is also doing ground. Remember that he's a Modi man who was working with PM Modi, during his tenure as a Gujarat Chief Minister, and he was also in MSME ministry also, and then he was sent there. He was made MLC. There were some talks; those were doing rounds that he could be inducted. He could be appointed as a Deputy Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. So there are chances that there could be some sort of changes in the organization of BJP in the state of Uttar Pradesh before it goes to poll. But by and large, the picture is very much clear that it is the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath who will be leading the campaign for BJP in Uttar Pradesh, and the kind of work which his government has done.
Absolutely. So Yogi Adityanath over there putting his best foot forward. Thank you very much, Piyush, for joining us with those details.